The camera glides through the grand halls of a sprawling mansion, silent and empty, except for her. A young, graceful girl, daughter of wealthy parents who live overseas, spends her days in solitude. Surrounded by towering shelves and scattered pages, her world is not the echoing house, but the stories she writes and the books she devours. Despite her solitude within the mansion, each morning she steps into the world beyond, walking through the shadowed woods in her striking heels and short skirt, a contrast of innocence and defiance. At school, her path crosses with Jonathan Miller, a middle-aged teacher whose own dreams of becoming a writer withered long ago. Between them lies a gulf of years, yet something unspoken begins to stir. Over time, Jonathan becomes more than just a teacher. He carries a quiet, paternal presence in Sophia's life, while she, in secret, admires him from a distance. One morning, arriving early to class, Sophia is asked to begin reading from the semester's list. To Jonathan's surprise, she has already devoured all 12 required books. Their conversation drifts seamlessly into literature, two worlds briefly meeting over shared passion until the door creaks open. Winnie, Sophia's friend and Jonathan's oft-repeating student, interrupts with her usual energy, inviting Sophia to join her for lunch. When the girls leave, silence lingers in the classroom. Jonathan, still intrigued by Sophia's choices, runs his hand across the neatly stacked books on her desk. He lifts one, skimming the underlined passages with quiet curiosity. Suddenly, the moment shatters. Boris, his longtime friend, barges in. With a mischievous grin, he snatches the book from Jonathan's hands and begins to read aloud, deliberately choosing the most explicit passage. Jonathan, embarrassed, reaches to stop him, but Boris only laughs, pressing on with the scandalous lines. That evening, Jonathan returns home to find his wife, Beatrice, buried in her work, her focus locked on the glow of her laptop. He lingers in the doorway, words hovering on his lips, but she scarcely looks up. Unable to hold back his excitement, Jonathan calls out, telling her about the student who had not only read his book, but treasured it. For a brief moment, her face softens, pride flickering through the exhaustion. Their conversation drifts into laughter, and soon Jonathan's voice turns playful, flirtatious. They pour themselves drinks, the tension of the day dissolving as they draw closer. Just as the moment begins to ignite, Beatrice's phone rings sharply. Amy, her insistent co-worker, pulling her back into work once more. Jonathan's smile falters, frustration simmering beneath the surface as intimacy slips from his grasp. The next day, Jonathan meets Boris, the two strolling together in the soft morning light. Jonathan vents with a sigh, recounting how Amy's untimely calls shattered his weekend, snatching away a rare romantic moment with Beatrice. Boris chuckles, teasing him mercilessly before drifting into stories of his own chaotic life, the banter carrying an easy rhythm between old friends. But their laughter fades as movement in the distance catches their eye. Emerging slowly from the shadow of the woods, Sophia steps into view, her presence both unexpected and strangely magnetic. Jonathan, still carrying the sting of last night's interruptions, watches intently as Sophia draws closer, the sunlight catching in her hair. Unaware of the weight in his gaze, she slips off her headphones and greets them with a bright cheerfulness. Jonathan, restless and frustrated beneath the surface, forces a casual smile, steadying his voice as he makes small talk with her. Later, in the quiet of the locker room, Winnie clumsily drops her books and pens across the floor. But Boris, leaning against the doorway, doesn't buy the act. His eyes narrow as he steps forward. "Enough games, Winnie," he mutters, catching the deliberate curve of her smile. In that moment, he realizes her stumble was no accident, but a calculated attempt at seduction. Sophia, standing nearby, catches Winnie's little performance and arches a brow. "You're quite bold," she remarks, half in disbelief. Winnie only grins, brushing it off, and quickly shifts the conversation, throwing out essay ideas to help Sophia. But her suggestions fall flat, too plain, too uninspired for Sophia's taste. Then, with a mischievous glint in her eye, Winnie leans closer. "Or," she teases, "you could always charm a teacher for material." Sophia freezes, confusion flickering across her face. "That's strange," she replies. "The age gap alone makes it odd." But Winnie, ever flirtatious, waves the thought away with a sly smile. "Age is nothing," she insists. "Besides, Jonathan's kind. Gentle. He'd make a perfect first date for you." Though Sophia hesitates at first, she doesn't feel uncomfortable. Winnie's playful persistence gradually sparks her curiosity. With a mischievous smile, Winnie teases her further, hinting at Jonathan's lingering glances during class. The remarks leave Sophia blushing, caught between denial and intrigue. Over time, those seeds take root. Sophia finds her thoughts drifting more often toward matters of the heart, her curiosity about romance growing stronger with each passing day. In class, her eyes wander almost instinctively toward Jonathan, subtle yet unmistakable, as if drawn by a quiet force she can't fully understand. One afternoon, Jonathan leans in quietly behind Sophia, his voice low, "Come by my office after class." She nods, curiosity sparking. Later, inside his office, Boris drops by, and Jonathan extends a warm invitation for him to join him and Beatrice for dinner. That evening, laughter fills their home as music drifts through the air. Boris, ever the entertainer, takes to the floor with effortless charm, spinning Beatrice as Jonathan watches with a grin. Back in the quiet, Jonathan playfully mimics Boris's dance steps, earning Sophia's laughter. Their conversation drifts easily, from lighthearted talk about Winnie, with Jonathan approving of their friendship, to more personal matters like Sophia's solitary living situation. Before she leaves, Jonathan pauses, his tone softening as he congratulates her on her remarkable work, pride evident in his eyes. In class, Jonathan pores over Sophia's recent writing, his expression shifting from curiosity to admiration. Impressed by her uncanny ability to recall entire passages by memory, he leans forward, his voice measured but warm. "You have a gift, Sophia. I want you to write a short story in the style of your favorite author. Do that well, and you'll pass this semester with flying colors." For Sophia, the challenge feels like an open door. Her eyes light up as she eagerly accepts, determination written across her face. Then, almost casually, she adds, "I've read your books too." Jonathan freezes, caught off guard. Before he can respond, Sophia begins quoting a passage word for word from one of his earliest works. The words hang in the air like an echo from his past. A smile slowly spreads across his face, equal parts disbelief and delight. At the meeting place, Sophia feels a sudden tap on her shoulder, Jonathan playfully surprising her from behind. As they settle in, he remarks with an almost fatherly pride, "We've been sharpening each other's craft for some time now." Their attention shifts as a local poet, Eliot, begins performing. Sophia sneaks glances at Jonathan, who listens intently, his face lit by the cadence of the words. Afterward, they exchange thoughts, critiquing Eliot's verses with ease, their dialogue flowing as naturally as the smoke curling upward from Sophia's cigarette. She extends the pack toward Jonathan. After a moment's hesitation, he accepts, a small gesture of shared rebellion. When a new week begins, Sophia walks into school transformed, her style sharper, more deliberate. Carrying 2 coffees, she offers them to Boris and Jonathan. The three stand together in rare camaraderie, their laughter echoing in the hallway as they trade jokes and pass around a cigarette, each of them a little more confident than before. Sophia leans toward Winnie with a sly smile. "He didn't say a word about my new look," she admits, "but I could tell, he noticed." Winnie laughs, nudging her knowingly. Later, Sophia meets with Jonathan, her eyes alight with determination. "I want to write my story in the style of Henry Miller," she declares. "Love, desire, all of it." Jonathan stiffens, concern flickering across his face. "That could stir trouble here," he cautions. But Sophia only shrugs, insisting that the risk would make the story stronger, more alive. Before he can argue further, Jonathan's phone buzzes, Beatrice's name glowing on the screen with an invitation for a weekend getaway. His thoughts drift, torn between duty and distraction. As Sophia steps closer, eager to discuss her draft, Jonathan nods absent-mindedly, giving his approval without really listening. Her excitement builds, while his mind is already elsewhere. When the two are alone, Winnie can't resist teasing. She circles Sophia dramatically, mimicking her mannerisms with exaggerated gestures. "Careful," she laughs, "you'll have the whole school thinking you're trying to seduce the professor." Sophia bursts into laughter, half amused, half embarrassed, brushing it off as she rummages around for her missing phone. Meanwhile, Jonathan's day unravels under the weight of Amy's incessant calls. Each time his phone buzzes, his patience wears thinner. Then, to his surprise, he answers only to hear Sophia's voice on the other end. Confused, He reaches into his jacket pocket and discovers her phone had slipped there by mistake. As he sorts out the mix-up, another call cuts in: Beatrice. Her voice, sharp with frustration, reminds him of their repeatedly postponed weekend escape. Jonathan listens in silence, the clash of obligations pressing heavier with every word. Despite the rain, Jonathan insists on returning Sophia's phone himself. The storm is heavy, each drop lashing the windshield as he pulls up near her estate. Through the curtain of rain, he sees her, Sophia, walking across the garden in a flowing dress, drenched yet radiant. Their eyes meet, and for a moment the storm is forgotten. She approaches, the rain trailing down her face, and when she reaches him, the distance collapses. In a rush of emotion, they embrace, a kiss deepening in the downpour, an unspoken admission of what had been building between them. In the days after, Jonathan carries the weight of that moment like a secret flame. He loses himself in thought, Sophia's presence echoing in every corner of his mind. He hides behind lectures, grading, routine, but inside, he's consumed. Sophia later emailed his stack of midterm papers. Jonathan struggles to steady himself. Afterward, Beatrice, distracted by her own obligations, brushes off his attempts at conversation, leaving him restless. He retreats to his study, seeking escape. There he discovers Sophia's finished story. Fresh pages spill from the printer as he begins to read. The tale unfolds in vivid strokes, passionate, daring, and achingly honest. Her voice is alive in every line. Jonathan's chest tightens as he realizes he is no longer just her teacher. Her words have drawn him into a world where their bond feels inevitable, even fated. In her writing, he sees a reflection of them both, a mirror he can neither deny nor look away from. The next morning, Sophia enters class in a striking outfit, her confidence radiant. But something feels different. Jonathan doesn't greet her as warmly as he once did. His smile is distant, his tone restrained. Sensing the shift, Sophia hesitates before asking softly, "Is something wrong?" Jonathan exhales, his gaze heavy. "It's your story, Sophia." The explicit content, it crossed a line. "I can't approve it." Taken aback, Sophia defends herself. "But I rejected that very content. It was meant to challenge, not to glorify." Her voice wavers, searching for his understanding. But Jonathan's expression hardens. He shakes his head, refusing to listen, shutting the door between them with finality. "You're my student. That's all," he says firmly. The words cut deep. Anger rises in Sophia, sharp and raw. "Your books aren't perfect, Jonathan. They're average, dull even. Maybe you're just jealous because I dared to write what you never could." The tension hangs thick in the air. Jonathan doesn't move, doesn't answer. His silence is immovable. Sophia, trembling with hurt, snatches up her bag and storms out of the classroom. Before leaving, she slips her story into the school administrator's mailbox, a final act of defiance. That evening, Jonathan returns home, weary from the day. Sitting at the table with Beatrice, he confesses the difficult encounter, recounting Sophia's story and their clash. To his surprise, Beatrice is intrigued. She presses him for details, her curiosity sparking a heated discussion between them, not just about Sophia's writing, but about the lines between art, love, and restraint. For the first time, Jonathan sees in his wife's eyes both challenge and fascination. That night, the weight of rejection drives Sophia to a dimly lit bar with Winnie. Nursing their drinks, they trade frustrations for laughter, the sting of Jonathan's words slowly easing. As the glasses empty, their playfulness grows. In a mischievous haze, they hatch an idea, snapping teasing, half-compromising photos meant to fluster Boris, turning their heartbreak into humor. Elsewhere, Jonathan sits at home with Beatrice when the phone rings. She answers, then passes it to him with a grave expression. On the line is the principal's office. Jonathan listens in stunned silence as they accuse him of having an inappropriate relationship with Sophia. His voice steadies with effort as he denies it, insisting it's untrue. But when the call ends, Beatrice's eyes linger on him. "If there's even a shadow of truth to this," she warns, her voice cutting, "you could lose everything, your job, your reputation, me." The next day, Sophia's seat in class is empty. While Jonathan presses on with his lecture, determined to mask the storm inside, Sophia sits in the principal's office. Her words are careful, calculated, her plans quietly unfolding. Jonathan, refusing to entertain the accusations or even mention her absence, hides behind the rhythm of teaching, though the silence where she once sat weighs heavier than any word spoken. Jonathan is summoned to a meeting with the school board. The atmosphere is heavy, the room filled with sharp questions. Both he and Sophia are interrogated about their interactions, every glance, every word, and whether there had been any encounters beyond the classroom. Jonathan insists on professionalism, but Sophia's careful, ambiguous answers hint at something more, enough to raise suspicion. The director's verdict is swift: Jonathan is suspended, pending investigation. When he arrives home, Beatrice senses the storm before he speaks. "What happened?" she demands. Jonathan deflects, insisting it's nothing, but under her relentless gaze he admits, almost helplessly, "I was too special to Sophia." The words ignite fury. Beatrice doesn't believe him at first, but when he finally confesses further, her composure shatters. Their voices rise, accusations cutting deeper with each exchange until Beatrice, trembling with rage, grabs her coat. "I can't do this anymore. I want a divorce." She slams the door, leaving Jonathan in silence. Meanwhile, across town, Winnie leans closer to Sophia. "You know he could lose his job over this," she warns, half serious, half teasing. Sophia only smiles faintly, her eyes distant. "Maybe that's his greatest achievement," she replies, before slipping the thought into her college essay and ending far more dramatic than anything she could have written on the page. Later, Sophia sits with Winnie, her tone calm but edged with resolve. "He never thought much of me," she admits. "So this is my way of getting back at him." She places the final touches on her college essay, the words sharp and deliberate. On the page, she crafts a haunting portrait of Jonathan's downfall, every choice, every glance, every consequence unfolding as though inevitable. Her essay reads less like an application and more like a confession, or perhaps a warning. As her pen stills, she leans back, a faint smile flickering across her face. The screen fades as Sophia's voice carries her closing lines, her story now complete. The movie ends, not with answers, but with the lingering echo of her words, leaving the audience to question where truth ended and fiction began. Hope you liked this recap and enjoyed. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button to encourage our channel.